lives. So Calvinism actually has an impact on how you view government. I don't know if you guys knew this, but there's a basic question. There's a bunch of questions you should probably ask, but there's one really important question you should ask. If you were like in charge of the world and you were going to make a government, you should ask this kind of a question. Are people basically good or are they basically bad? Why would that be an important question to ask when you're creating a government? Okay, yeah, it might influence what kind of laws you make, what kind of policies you need, yeah. Good point, good point. What impact would that have on like the way that we view society and government? Stricter laws? Maybe. Right. There's a fundamental understanding there. Are you restraining evil in the world, or are you simply empowering the good in people? And depending on what you think about that is going to give you very different political systems, right? The Marxist view is basically that evil only comes from the institution, so we need to empower people, and the inherent good of people will eventually overcome the evil of the system, right? What? I was like, okay, we got one Marxist in the room. No, I'm just kidding. Or do we understand people as basically bad? Well, the Calvinist view is going to have an impact there. And it's actually more nuanced than just people are bad, and therefore we should treat them like they're evil things. Because they're not just bad. That's not what radical corruption means, right? Radical corruption is really saying that people are image bearers. So there's going to be implications for human rights. We should have some rights. We should treat people with dignity. People actually matter just like societies matter. But the person is going to be foremost because the person is made in the image of God. The nation is not made in the image of God, right? But we also understand that human beings are radically corrupt. And we understand that every part of them is touched by evil, and left to their own devices, apart from the gospel, their tendency is going to be towards greater and greater evil, the more and more they're empowered. So what you actually get out of a Calvinist worldview is an understanding of humanity that leads to something like the United States. And if you didn't know this, the United States was actually influenced a lot by the Reformed tradition, both in the Bill of Rights and sort of the understanding of how human beings operate, the way that the powers were divided in our government to keep checks and balances, to keep people in check, to check their radical depravity, if you will. And even our system of government, in sort of the ins and outs of it, was somewhat of a copy of Presbyterianism. So depending on what you think about human beings, what does the Bible teach about humans? What is the biblical anthropology according to the Reformed tradition? That's going to impact the way that you interact with whatever country it is that you're in. Or if you become empowered to be a politician, the way that you make policy or help design governments. On a very large scale, it matters what you think about who people are. And what the Bible says about them is going to be the best accessible